A simple waitress defended a billionaire CEO from police next day. His power shocked her diner. The police officer's finger stabbed the air like a blade, accusing, angry, certain. The small diner had fallen silent, the clatter of plates fading into tense whispers as everyone watched the scene unfold. A man in a worn red hoodie sat frozen at the counter, his eyes tired but proud, while two police officers loomed over him like judges ready to deliver a sentence. And in that moment, when no one else dared to speak, a simple waitress stepped forward, her voice trembling but determined to defend a stranger everyone else had already decided was guilty. None of them knew that the quiet man they were humiliating was one of the most powerful billionaires in the country. And by the next morning, the entire diner would witness a twist that would leave them speechless. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness can change lives and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to the channel Brightly Kindness to support more stories that remind us of the power of compassion. The diner sat on the edge of a quiet highway town where life moved slowly, and dreams often felt too big for the small streets that held them. Emma had worked there for 4 years, pouring coffee before sunrise and wiping tables long after the last truck drivers had left. Life had never been easy for her. She carried the weight of unpaid bills, a sick mother at home, and the quiet fear that her life might never move beyond that tiny diner. Yet despite everything, Emma had something rare, an instinctive kindness that refused to disappear even when life gave her every reason to become cold. That rainy evening, the man in the red hoodie walked in alone. His clothes were simple, his beard slightly unkempt, and his eyes carried the quiet exhaustion of someone who had traveled far. Many customers would have ignored him or judged him before he even sat down, but Emma treated him the same way she treated everyone else. She greeted him with a warm smile, placed a cup of hot coffee in front of him, and offered the diner's special, a cheap burger that barely cost anything but somehow tasted like comfort. He thanked her softly, his voice calm, almost thoughtful, as if he wasn't used to kindness being offered without suspicion. Throughout the evening, Emma noticed something unusual about him. He watched people carefully as if studying their lives. The truck drivers laughing in the corner, the elderly couple sharing a slice of pie, the tired cashier counting tips at the end of her shift. His gaze carried curiosity, not judgment. Then everything changed when the police arrived. The front door slammed open with a loud metallic clang. 2 officers stepped inside, scanning the room with sharp eyes before their attention locked onto the man in the red hoodie. The older officer pointed immediately, his voice firm and suspicious. Someone had reported a suspicious individual matching his description walking around expensive neighborhoods earlier that day. To them, the situation seemed obvious. The diner grew tense. Customers leaned back in their seats, watching carefully. The man remained calm, though a quiet sadness crossed his face as the officers began questioning him harshly. They demanded identification, speaking with the kind of authority that left little room for dignity. Emma felt something twist in her chest. She had seen that look before, the look of someone being judged before they had the chance to explain themselves. Her father had once been treated the same way years ago, accused of something he didn't do simply because of how he looked. That memory burned inside her, pushing her forward before fear could stop her. She stepped between the officers and the man, her voice shaking but firm. She explained that he had been sitting there quietly for hours, doing nothing but drinking coffee and watching the rain. She insisted he hadn't caused trouble and that maybe there had been some misunderstanding. The officers were irritated. To them, she was just a waitress interfering with their work. But Emma refused to step back. She spoke calmly, respectfully, yet with a courage that surprised even herself. After several uncomfortable minutes, the officers eventually checked his identification. The entire diner watched the moment unfold. The officer's expression shifted slowly from confidence to confusion, and then to something close to disbelief. Without another word, they returned the identification and left the diner quietly. The customers looked around in confusion, whispering among themselves. Emma felt relief wash over her, though she never asked the man who he really was. To her, it didn't matter. He was simply someone who deserved to be treated with respect. Before leaving that night, the man thanked her again. His words were simple, but his eyes carried a deep gratitude she couldn't quite understand. The next morning, Emma arrived at the diner expecting another ordinary shift. But nothing about that morning was ordinary. Black luxury cars lined the small parking lot like something out of a movie. Men in expensive suits stood near the entrance, speaking quietly into phones. Customers gathered outside, whispering with excitement and confusion. Emma's heart raced as she stepped closer. Inside the diner, the owner stood frozen beside a well-dressed man who looked strangely familiar. And then Emma realized. The man standing confidently in the center of the diner was the same quiet stranger in the red hoodie. Only now he wore a tailored suit, and the room seemed to revolve around him. He was introduced as Daniel Carter, the billionaire CEO of one of the largest technology companies in the world. The town had recently become part of a massive development project his company was planning, and he had been visiting quietly, observing the community without revealing who he was. Emma felt her face flush with shock. But what happened next stunned everyone even more. Daniel explained that he had been traveling across the country anonymously, trying to understand how everyday people were treated when no one thought they were important. In most places, he had been ignored, judged, or treated poorly. But in this small diner, one person had shown him something rare. Kindness without expectation. He turned toward Emma